All right. So Deb, thank you so much for agreeing to have this conversation with me. I know we haven't talked about contracting, but I wanted to do that now, insofar as how you and I will decide how we're going to work together in this period of time. So, what what do I need to know about how you would like for us to interact?
Uh, I don't I don't have anything specific in terms of parameters, so
Okay,
I think anything goes. If you're challenging too far, I'll let you know.
got it.
Other than that, nothing really comes to mind.
Perfect. Same here. We've had some conversation about organic, so I'm a big fan of that. Um, Seems like you are too. So we'll just be
Mhm.
organic with one another. And insofar as what you'd like to discuss today, what is top of mind for you that you want to explore?
Yes. So, what's been on my mind is I have a client who is a director of a pharmaceutical company. And he is someone who I've been coaching for the last few months and is really working on empathy,
Mm,
both, I would say, cognitive and emotional empathy. And he's very much like he's in the computational group of the research arm of this company. So extremely analytical, values data, uh, is probably, I mean, heavily on the introverted side. So, extremely sensitive person, but definitely has, struggles expressing himself to
okay.
others. And sometimes, from what he has shared, sometimes has also trouble sensing cues, even from other people. Uh, what else to share? He's recently promoted into the role. So, I think part of the struggle for him too is that he went from being very much on the technical side,
Mhm.
to now, although he manages people, he's taking on greater responsibility with his whole department and having to work cross-functionally now. So in
Okay.
essence, a lot more people responsibility on top of his team. Um, the topic specifically with him, or I would say the challenge with him is that he has a tendency to, when I'm asking questions about his emotions, he has kind of a visceral reaction sometimes that
Mm,
he'll actually like either not look at me directly or, move back physically or start kind of like fidgeting. Um, and my observation is that sometimes I'll like mention that to him, but sometimes not. And my general feeling is that although I think he has really enjoyed the coaching, and I get great feedback from him and his leader that he has a lot of insights and he's making a lot of progress and he's experimenting. I'm kind of left feeling like I could be challenging more
mm.
in this case. So that's kind of what I wanted to explore with you
Okay.
today.
So he shares for the most part. There seems to be somewhat of a challenge for him to open up.
Yes.
And when you notice that, when you reflect that, when you share that,
Hmm.
sounds like it causes him to do the opposite.
Yes.
Got it. Sometimes you mention it, sometimes you don't.
Correct.
What have you found, Deb, that takes place within you when you don't share what you've observed?
That's a good question. There's like a feeling of uncertainty.
Hmm.
You know, it makes me feel nervous to see it and not call it out.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel like I'm, you know, I'm shying away from, you know, making sure it's clear to him what I'm seeing.
Right. And in this feeling of shying away, what would you say is happening with him in that moment?
He's very much in his head.
Hmm.
That's my experience of him. Intellectualizing what's happening.
Just out of curiosity, is this something he shares with you, or this is just what you surmise from his behavior?
Sometimes he shares,
Hmm.
sometimes I'm surmising.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm picturing both of you either taking turns or sharing the same sentiment without sharing it with one another.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps. What, if anything, has he shared with you about any of the folks on his team, particularly where this emotional outreach, sensitivity, what have you, he's actually trying to embody?
Like in terms of successes, are
Yeah.
you asking about? Yeah, he has shared several of them. I think that what he's shared is it's been difficult at first to absorb people's emotions and
Mhm.
take them in and be able to react in real time. But what he is doing is, trying to get better at staying with it instead of walking away from it or, you know, or deferring it.
Right.
Um, he is able to what he shared is he's able to kind of verbalize the words around, like, asking them what they're thinking, asking them what they're feeling. What he doesn't know is, you know how he's not necessarily asking at the end how it was for them, how the conversation was for them. And so that's something that we're kind of crossing the threshold on, is for him to be proactively asking feedback from his team
Right.
about that. So that's what he's in the middle of right now.
Okay. And how do you feel like that's going?
You mean just like his progress around that?
Yeah.
It's been incremental progress, but I feel like he is making some. I think it's as you know, everybody develops differently at a different pace. And so I think it's been a slower pace, but I do think that he is, my observation is that his personality is not necessarily leap into action. He has a personality where he's observing and listening and assessing and then making an action. So I feel like it's actually in line with his personality. So on the other hand, to I think the point that you're getting to, I think that's what I think I'm worried about is, could I be doing more to accelerate his growth? Like, is it good enough?
Got it. What in the way of measures of success have you all discussed?
Well, I think that there's going to be some 360 feedback at the end of his coaching engagement.
Okay.
And then, as I just mentioned before, I had hoped, that as he's having these conversations or situations that he's going to get real-time feedback, like he's going to ask directly for feedback with other people. But beyond that, I think it's going to be qualitative, from others, and then also from himself in terms of what's his self-assessment about his ease in recognizing his own emotions, being able to express that, and also recognizing the emotions of other people and being able to, navigate those discussions.
Yeah. As I'm listening to you, I'm really curious about like how you and I are navigating right now. I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm noticing this ebb and flow. Like there's sometimes, and you mentioned it, right? There's sometimes like I'll lean in, and other times I feel like I'm sitting back. And I'm not sure if it's because I'm looking for anything in particular, but it's almost like I'm wanting something else. What do you say to that?
In some ways, it's like, I don't know what I don't know. In other ways, what I wonder is, I guess what has crossed my mind is, what happens if I push too far? So I think there's a fear of pushing too far and what the impact would be.
What's really, and I'm only laughing because it's so ironic. You mentioned at the very beginning of this conversation, if I push too much, you'd let me know.
Yes.
Yes.
I did.
And you haven't. So.
Not yet.
So I'll have to take it from that. I'm still safe, or we're still safe.
Yes.
Deb, what do you believe for your client would be too much?
That's a great question. I think it may be if he was unable to have a way to express himself. because what's so important to him is not just like knowledge in general, but to be seen as competent and knowledgeable. And so I'm super aware of this as a motivation for him, and kind of his insecurities about that. And this is, this is clearly a domain where he does not feel skillful yet.
Got it.
So it's a little bit of like an internal crisis for him. Like he wouldn't be doing this if he didn't want to, right? From a growth and development perspective. But on the other hand, it's scary for him. And so that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah. What's scary for you?
Yeah, I think that I think what's scary for me is him being disappointed or not feeling good about the coaching.
And that would leave you with?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how I would navigate that. Because it's important to me that he has a good experience and that it is impactful.
Yeah. I wonder what would happen if you shared that with him.
It would be a good experiment to do that.
You know, Deb, I would assert we all have some of that, because we wouldn't do what we do if we didn't want to be of value or of service. We have our own measure of success. You mentioned transparency actually before we even started the recording. And in this moment in transparency, you know, like I'm hoping I'm doing okay, to be honest. So you get something from this reflective experience.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So speaking of reflective experience, what's one reflection from this conversation where your client is concerned that stands out for you?
I feel like holding back on the kind of what if he would be disappointed in the coaching experience is it would be a disservice for him from a coaching perspective. That it feels selfish somehow. Like, why if this is about helping him truly, then I should be able to put it on the table and model that kind of vulnerability with him. And that could be a learning point for
Mm.
him. But it's a tough conversation to have, but, you know, I need to have it, you know, especially in the spirit of him growing, you know, or accelerating his growth.
Yeah. Nice. What else to ponder in this moment?
I think the other thing that's just on my mind, you know, related to this is, you know, where can I be challenging more?
Mm.
You know, I think that you were talking about like self-assessment, you know, our own expectations, you know, it's all well and good when you're getting, you know, good advice, you know, like, I'm sorry, good feedback from people, that you're
Yeah.
giving good insights and everything, but it, you know, I somehow have this feeling that there's more I could be doing about that. So
Okay. Well, is this a good place to leave you for now?
I think so.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.